Hi everyone. I hope you're all well. Most of you are just starting your fast. It's already almost over here. Thanks for coming. What I wanted to talk about is really the question of why do we fast? Okay. Um, so I want to talk about why we fast because we it's sort of something we take for granted. Not for granted, but we sort of don't really think about like, okay, it's a fast and that's what we do. And we don't really think of why I'm doing this. So I titled the class, Why Am I Skipping Lunch Today? Because I think it's so much more than obviously skipping lunch, because that's not really the be all end all goal of what we're doing. But let's start there because that's what we have to do. We have to fast. So what is eating? Why are we not eating, right? We're physical beings. Eating is like such a crucial part of who we are, of our makeup, right? If we don't eat, we don't feel well, we're tired, we don't have the energy we need. And even like from a nutritional standpoint, if you're eating the wrong food, you're not up to par. And this quote, you are what you eat, all these things, we're very connected to that as physical beings. And we even see here in psychology, Professor Maslow, he made this hierarchy of needs. And he talks about our physiological needs: food, water, warmth, rest. And then when we have, basically the way the pyramid works is when you have those basic needs, the foundational needs, you could build up to the other needs. So if I have food, water, warmth, rest, basic physiological needs, then
Hello, Simon.
hi, yeah, put on mute. So everyone, could you put on mute? Hold on, let me. Yeah, okay. Then we have safety needs, right? Security. Why is it not? Yeah, hello? Okay, I think you hear me. Yeah, if not, then send me a chat because I can't. Um, okay, so we have basic physiological needs, again, safety needs, and then we could get into higher things about relationships and our own actualization and things like that. So because of that, the Hachamim knew this, and the way we live our life, we knew this. And because of that, we have to, even before fasting, the Hachamim, before I talk about that, before Moshe dies and Bnei Israel is going into the land, he is, the whole Sefer Devarim, he's imparting his wisdom onto them. And he tells them here, when you get to the land and everything's great, all that, and you're all secure, you're full and you're satiated. I mean, literally, and also figuratively, in the sense of you're stable, you're satiated, you're comfortable. He warns them, he warns them, when you're in that state of comfort, of physical comfort, on this level of the purple, the physiological level, and the green, the safety needs of being in your land, don't forget God. Because it's very easy for a human being, once we get our basic needs, to not care about our physiological, our psychological and self-fulfillment needs. And Hachamim knew this, and they made a rule that when you need to do certain mitzvot, not to eat before, so you don't forget. Because psychologically, you're going to say, "Oh, I can't eat, so I need to remember to do this and that and this and that. Why aren't I eating?" You ask yourself that question. So here I just brought a little picture. We can't eat before Kiddush. We can't eat before the Megillah. We can't eat before Havdalah. We can't eat before we pray in the morning. We can't eat before Lulav. We can't eat before lighting the candles for Hanukkah. It's basically telling us, stop, think, why can I have a drink now? Why can I eat now? Because I need to do something important. And with a fast day, it's even more heightened because we're not eating the whole day. So anytime that you are hungry or you're thinking, oh, I'd like a glass of water, it's summer, it's hot, why can't I have that? Oh, because I'm fasting. But why am I fasting? What is the point of this? And I want to bring the Rambam here. Let me make this bigger so you could see because it's a little bit small. I bought the whole thing. I'm not reading it all. I'm going to go through certain points, but just so you can see, it's the Rambam in Hilchot Ta'anit when he talks about the fast days, and he starts his discussion of the fast, and he says, Sham Yamim, there are days that all Yisrael fast. And what? And I bolded this because this is the key. Why? Why are we fasting? Because of the atrocities, the bad things that happened then, and we want to awaken our hearts to tshuva. It should remind us of our bad deeds, our failings, however you want to translate that, and avotenu, and that of our fathers, and the same masim that happened with our fathers that we're repeating. So because it's not, these fasts are not, according to Rambam, is not a commemorative fast. This is not, oh, I'm remembering the temple. Yes, I'm remembering the temple, but it's not just remembering the temple. The same reason that I'm saying the sarot happened to our forefathers, that the temple was destroyed and these bad things happened to our forefathers. It's the same things going on now. It's not rebuilt because we're not fixing the problem. So yes, you have to look at it in a way of I, myself, each individual, not that necessarily I destroyed it, but the fact that it's not being built in my time is as if I'm destroying it because I didn't rebuild it. So there's still the same underlying problem. And he said, so because of this remembrance and this consciousness that I am having because of not eating, then I will be able to get to fix it, to do tshuva. Now he brings. I skipped out of this. Let me. How do I? Hold on. Why did I do this? 1 second. All right, whatever, it doesn't matter. He brings in all the other different fast days, and not different. He brings in the fast days connected to Churban. Shlishi b'Tish'a Stam Gedalia. Asara b'Tevet is when they breach the walls. Yedzayin Tammuz is when they breach the walls, and then we have Tish'a BeAb, which is today, right? And he talks about 5 major things that happen on the Tish'a BeAb, and I want to look at these things as one part of seeing what they are, and most of you probably know them, but on the other part, because it's important to see what's the underlying factor of these things that we need to deal with, okay? So the first thing was the meraglim, right? Chet meraglim, it was decreed that we couldn't enter Eretz Yisrael because of Chet meraglim. 2 and 3 is destruction of the first and second Beit HaMikdash. And 4 is the fall of Betad, which symbolized the complete end of the rebellion of Bar Kochva. And that is so significant because at that point, we thought we were getting free. So many rabbis at the time, Rabbi Akiva being one of them, thought Bar Kochva was the Mashiach, thought we were ending our Galut and we were going to have this amazing time. And when Betad fell, it symbolized that it symbolized that wasn't the case. So it was a big letdown. And here the last picture is that Tonus Rufus, long name, the Roman leader. He plowed down the lands of the Mikdash. So not only was it destroyed, but he totally plowed it, decimating the area. And what do these days all have in common? It has the fact that we lose our autonomy, we lose our freedom, we lose our security. We're homeless, right? We're unstable. We're homeless. We're not secure in our land. Okay. So now, why is that so significant? Because fast forward, we're still in the same position, right? We're still not secure in our land. We have the land, but we don't have it as the way it should be fully actualized with the Mikdash. Okay. So now, that's where my consciousness should be. What am I as an individual thinking about on this day? That the same way my ancestors didn't have stability and comfort and calm in the land, that's the same way I'm dealing now, that I need to find the land. And I think it's a very interesting question of how do we fix that? And we get from the Nevi'im, we have to do Tzedek Mishpat, which I'll talk about in a little while, of really looking at our own lives and seeing how we could be a tikkun individually and hopefully as a nation. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about the idea of mourning. Why are we mourning, right? And I want to say something that I think there's a very big difference between mourning and depression. And I think mourning is when you go through a loss, whether it be a person, a place in this case, or even just the loss of an idea of a reality that you thought you had. You thought even, you thought your life was going to be one way, and if something happens, you lose a job or something like that, and you have to mourn that life you thought you were going to live. And I think in all those cases, the mourning comes from the fact that I feel the grief, I feel the loss, but I have to think of a new way to move on and to live in this new reality, even though I wasn't expecting it. Okay? And where depression on the other side is, yes, you're feeling sad, you're feeling a loss, but what depression is you end up getting stuck and you don't see a way out, and you just have this sense of hopelessness and maybe worthlessness or inability to do any sort of tikkun or change from the situation. So I think in a way, mourning could be something that is a productive thing, because I'm thinking of how can I take this loss, this sadness that I'm feeling, and now reevaluate it to move on to something, the new reality that I have to deal with, whether I like it or not, right? And I think in our time, now we're supposed to be mourning the Mikdash and the loss of the Mikdash. And I really think though, here, I'm gonna show you some pictures, but I don't think really here, by the way, I'll just bring in this pasuk because it's interesting. So all this about not having autonomy and not having our land, it says in Vayikra that the land literally will not tolerate the people being not being in a good relationship with God, and it will literally throw you up. Vatikah will spit you out, it will throw you up, and it won't tolerate that. So I think we have to also realize that it's our responsibility and our shortcomings that led to this. Not, hold on, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And I just want to we're supposed to be mourning this. This is the Southern Wall excavation. I took some pictures from there. You could Google them online. I didn't take them myself, obviously. I'm not a photographer. But you see here, this is an archaeological site. And it's not like the kotel that was built up nice and beautiful and all that. This is still left as destruction. So you see the actual ruins of the walls and the stones that were thrown. Broken things from people throwing stones. Here was where the vendors used to stand, and people were doing aliyah laregel, and they would sell things for them to get to the Temple Mount. And here, sorry, I'll go back a second. Here is a picture of the kotel. I mean, obviously not today because there's so many people there, but in our lifetimes, modern times. And you see, here's the kotel, and we all focus on that, but overlooking is the Dome of the Rock, where the Muslims have their mosque. And the fact that, I mean, I don't know for you, but the fact that this picture doesn't turn your stomach, that this is not the goal, the hotel. This is the goal. The where the mosque is the goal, that we should have Beit HaMikdash there. And because that's not turning our stomachs, I think that's what we have to mourn. We have to mourn the fact that we don't know a life of Mikdash. And here we see, this is Rav Goren in the 6-Day War, when they said Har Habayit Beyadenu, and they got Temple Mount. We had to end up giving it up for political reasons, which is just it's a very sad state that we're living in. But what I think we need to mourn personally is this, in the sense of the Beit HaMikdash, that we need to mourn the comforts in our life and realize that this is a problem, that we don't know what a Mikdash is. And the fact that it's not an easy life to have the Mikdash. The Mikdash means going aliyah laregel 3 times a year, leaving my family and my comforts and going to do korbanot. It means giving taxes to the temple. It means if anyone's a kohen, and they're a male or they're a female, their husband, they themselves as a male, or the husband or the sons or whoever, has to go a few times a year to work in the temple and give the korbanot. It means that any transgression that I do, I have to keep track of and go to the mikdash. It means I have to be worried constantly about tum'an, tahara, and mikveh, and all these things that we don't have to worry about today. And it's all these consciousness that we lost, that we don't have anymore. And I think, and it says that the only way the temple will be rebuilt is if Bnei Israel are begging and praying for 3 things. And they are the Shekhinah, that God should come back and reconnect to us and rebuild a relationship with us. And number 2 is the Malchut Beit David, that we should have Mashiach, right? That we should have the stability of Mashiach and Malchut Beit David and autonomy in our land, that we should see that that's an issue that we need. And number 3 is that the Mikdash itself should come. And I think that it's so important to realize that, I think for most of us, myself included, we're very comfortable in our lives. We're not really on a daily basis thinking about wanting the mikdash. And even on Tish'a BeAb, I think when we're not fasting, a lot of us, I mean myself included, are more like, when can I have a drink? When can I have a coffee? And not really necessarily thinking so much of what am I really, what is really this hunger that I'm feeling, or this thirst that I'm feeling physically, what is it meant to make me deal with psychologically? And I want to say, so, and there's a pasuk that says, whoever mourns Yerushalayim, it's from the Gemara, actually, yeah, I think it's Gemara. Whoever mourns Jerusalem will see her in her happiness. And I think it goes on this point. Whoever really decides to mourn and shift their life into new reality and see what we're missing, will see the simcha of a rebuilt Jerusalem. And even it's interesting that even it's written in the Nevi'im that when they build the second temple, there was a 70-year galut. There was people that were children in the time of the destruction of the first temple, and they saw the first temple. And when they got to the second temple, they cried because it wasn't the same level as the first temple. They saw what it was lacking, and they saw that we weren't in the same place. And because of that, I think we could see that it's not a simple fix. It's really a mindset fix as well as a physical fix of the mikdash. And I think that we have to, and by the way, now actually there are a lot of rabbis and people and she taught that say you could, and politically it's a little bit dangerous, but you could get on the Temple Mount and go see it in certain capacity. So there are some level of like, we can try to get there. And I actually watched a talk from last night from Rabbi Glick, who's very, very big on getting on the temple, and you could watch some of his stuff. He's more radical, but he was saying how in our day and age, it really has to come down to the fact of we could go and physically right now, start a war and rebuild the temple and get it in our hands. That could happen, I guess, but he said that the temple has to be built out of peace and in the right time. And we have to allow that peace in our nation and the world around us so that it could be a positive thing. And we see that even when the first temple is built, right? God tells David, you can't build it because you're an ish damim, you're a man of war, and your son Shlomo, who's a man of peace, he will build it. So I think that's the same lesson type of thing that we have to realize now, is that we have to be working on our tzedek u'mishpat, our peace within our nation and within the people around us. And it's a crazy world we're living in now. I don't anyone watches the news, it's really crazy, and you see what's going on. And we have to see, like, yes, we can't fix all the problems as an individual, right? I'm not gonna be able to fix all the craziness that's going on in the world right now. But if each individual says, what can I individually fix, and consciously says, what can I do on this day, and what goal can I set on this day for myself and my immediate surroundings, my immediate relationships and things like that, then we could step up to building and fixing as a nation. And I think that we have to realize that in the all the Nevi'im and all the stories, all of the fact that we lost the land in all those cases, in the destructions of the Mikdash, and not being able to go in for Eter Chet HaMeraglim and losing the rebellions, it's always a spiritual thing. It's never a physical thing, right? The Meraglim at that time, they could have walked in. It was a 3-day journey from Mitzrayim to Eretz Yisrael. We stopped ourselves. We're always, the ones that are shooting ourselves in the foot, right? We're always the ones that are messing up. God's always ready to build that relationship, to let us in, and if we choose to rebuild that. And what's so important about our physical land is because we're physical beings, and we need to have that physical security, like we spoke about in the Maslow's hierarchy. And I think we have to look at the balance here of how much we have of Israel, but also how much we still don't have. And it's actually interesting. I was driving today to do an errand, and I had the news on because I didn't want to listen to music. It's Shabbat, and I had the news on, and I'm in Israel, and it came on that there's a lot of protests going on. People aren't happy with the government. People aren't happy with the way things are dealing with Corona, with unemployment, all these things. So there's been tons and tons and tons of protests almost every day. And they were saying that on the news, how it's Tish'a BeAb and it's a heat wave and really people are fasting and we shouldn't protest tonight. And I just was listening to it and I said, it was like, it made me like smile almost, because in a way, yes, there's so many things that are going on in this country and the world that are like really need to be fixed. But on the other hand, like I'm living in a time where I'm driving in Israel, in my country, and I'm secure here. And the news is if we should protest because it's Tish'a BeAv, and the government is aware, and they're talking about, people are talking about it. And then this woman came on, I don't know if she was one, and she goes, no, even Tish'a BeAv, we have to do it. And it's just interesting to see that like the world we live in now, yes, it's a crazy world, but we're still at a place that I think, hundreds of years ago, we would never imagine that we could be even saying these things, that I have the audacity to protest my government in a free Israel. Like, who would have said that even 80 years ago, 100 years ago, that you have a government and you're protesting it? You have a land. You'd be happy you have a land. Who do you think you are to protest it? So I think there's this balance we have to realize and appreciate and love and be thankful for where we are in our point in history of our land, but also realize how much lacking we have. And I just, a little while ago now, I was just in Adele Shabbat's class and she showed some pictures of Har HaBayit today. And it was really, it was hard to look at, because you see these Arab kids playing soccer and these things going on. And it's like, that's not what Har HaBayit's about. Har HaBayit is about unity and shalom and being a place that will be a light to the nations, and we can all worship God in our own way. And I think we have to really look at inward and say, in which way am I too comfortable with a life without Mikdash? And when I think of those ways, when I'm so comfortable in my life without Mikdash and with the comforts that I have, and realizing that I have to shift that a little bit and get out of my comfort zone and allow for Mikdash to be brought in, and the Mashiach and the redemption to be brought in, because it's in our hands. And I'll bring another quote from Moshe Rabbeinu, because who says it better, right? He says, Ma Hashem, and this is also again in Devarim, the end of his life. Also, if anyone wants to feel connected to the land and really, for me, when I learned Sefer Devarim and taught Sefer Devarim, it really connected me to Israel so much, because you see, I know it's a little tangential, but you see Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life, where all he wanted to do was get into Eretz Yisrael, and he spends this whole speech knowing he's going to die now, knowing he's not going in, but he's imparting everything he can to be like, please, I can't go in, but you make it work. And I'm telling you again and again, this is how you make it work. Don't mess it up. I can't go in, but you can. Don't mess it up. Again and again and again, he keeps saying that in different ways. And here he says that, what does God want from you, Israel? Fear him, go in his ways, to love him, and worship him with all your heart and all your soul. Follow his mitzvot and sukim, what I am teaching you now, the tov lach, it will be good for you. That's how he ended the tov lach. It's not for anyone else, it's for you. And I think that's the message we have to really take from doing introspection and realizing, yes, I feel comfortable now in my life, but I have to really think of, this will be better for me, reconnecting to God, reconnecting to the land, and hopefully getting the Mikdash soon. And I want to just wrap up a minute by saying that all these somot that Rambam talked about here, where was it? All these somot, right? He talks about, he ends that section with this is Rambam again. כל השמות האלו עתידים לבטל לימות המשיח, ולא עוד אלא שהם עתידים להיות יום טוב בימי ששון ושמחה. So he says in the Yimot HaMashiach, right, in the future, all these fast days are going to be batel, why can I think of the English word? Like void, they're not going to be anymore. And not only are they not going to be fast days anymore, they're going to be Yemei Tovim v'Simcha. They're going to be holidays and happy, Sason v'Simcha. And he brings the pasuk, Amar Hashem Tzavot Som HaReviv Som HaChamishi v'Som HaShvi v'Som HaEsvi Yule Bet Yehuda l'Saston Tzimcha l'Modim Tovim v'Hamet V'Shalom Ahavu. That when we get to the Yimot HaMashiach and we fix these issues, they're going to become days of happiness and days of Chagim, of Moadim and Chagim and happiness. And I really hope, and I wish to all of us, that we use this day as the last day of mourning and the last day of not eating and physically not being comfortable, where, you know, we're not eating, we're not washing, we're not wearing leather shoes. These are all things to make our physicality, that most base level that we have of physicality, uncomfortable. So we reevaluate our brains and our psychological and self-evaluation levels. And I hope that through that and through thinking, how can I bring tzedek u'mishpat? How can I get out of my comfort zone and really look at a life of what it means to have a life with mikdash and a life with freedom like that, to bring us to days of simcha instead of days of evel and som. So thank you for coming. I hope you all have a meaningful and easy fast. And I hope that next year this is a holiday and we could all be celebrating in Yerushalayim HaBnuya. So thank you.